So, hello, everybody. Welcome. Good
Hello.
afternoon. I guess we're going to mute our guests here. Uh, okay. Good afternoon and welcome to all of our friends, far and wide, neighbors, supporters of the Grey Panthers, and welcome to our October 29th, 2024 Transformation Tuesday. Today's program is entitled Activism Against Ageism, and it was organized by our esteemed board member, Meg Laporte, who's the co-founder of Art Against Ageism, a nonprofit that is making great strides in its battle against ageist stereotyping. You may have noted that in the October 25th issue, McKnight's Long-Term Care News is featuring Art Against Ageism under the headline, Quality FaceTime. Nursing homes' exterior murals showcase residents' and workers' portraits to grow public rapport. So joining Meg today will be Kim Beasley, who's the Director of Communications and Outreach, and Sonia Williams, Activity Director, both on staff at AG Roads, one of Atlanta's oldest nonprofits, which is also featured in the McKnight's piece. So as you know, I'm Michelle Arnaud, and I thank you for your support of the Grey Panthers movement, which was founded over 50 years ago in 1970 by Maggie Kuhn. And Maggie envisioned our mission to combat ageism and promote intergenerational contact, which is what we strive to do every month with this webinar series. What Maggie could not have envisioned and would have embraced is how we're meeting on Zoom every month from the four corners of the nation and the world. And we try to meet on the last Tuesday of the month. All our webinars are recorded and available on our website, gpnyc.org, thanks to our wonderful tech manager, Emily Trask. Our intention is to provide a safe space to change the narrative for how ageism impacts our world, with the goal of making a positive difference. So now a little background on our presenters. Meg Laporte has over 2 decades of experience in the field of aging services. Among her many roles, she's founder of the Age in America Project, in addition to co-founding Art Against Ageism and serving on the Grey Panthers board. Thanks, Meg. Kim Beasley will soon be marking 10 years at AG Roads, where she began as Director of Volunteer Services and Community Engagement. And now, as I said, she's Director of Communications and Outreach. And I believe she's also an accomplished musician. We're also going to hear from Sonia Williams, Recreation Therapist and Activities Director at AG Roads. In addition to organizing activities, Sonia manages volunteers, tapping into their skills and offering meaningful opportunities. She's also a certified Eden educator who helps educate employee care partners across the organization in person-directed care. Please put any questions and thoughts in the chat, and we will try to address everything in this next hour. And now it's my pleasure to pass the virtual mic to you, Meg. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you so much for everyone who's attending today. I really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to talk about my favorite topic, which is art that tackles ageism. And I'm very excited. Also, did you mention, Michelle, that Sonia is as a board member of Art Against Ageism? And we also have another board member on with us. Michelle Olson is online with us. Hello, Michelle. Wave to everybody if you don't mind. So I'm so excited to talk about this topic. And to start, Art Against Ageism was founded 3 years ago in August of 2021, with the idea that we can leverage art and creativity to tackle ageism. And when we did that, of course, it was really right in the middle of it was just after, a year after the pandemic had started. And my co-founder, Jordan Evans, and I we had tried to find ways that we could launch and how we might launch. And both of us love art a great deal. And so I had actually gone down a lot of rabbit holes during the pandemic on Instagram and discovered that Instagram has an amazing art community and so much incredible art. And I became really inspired by the art that I found there and the artists that I had not yet heard of, including people and including the artwork that I had not heard of, had not seen before, which was Yoko Ono has some great artwork that I had not seen before, experienced before. She inspired us to do the very first interactive art installation at Keswick, which is a nursing home in Baltimore, which, by the way, is where Jordan Evans is working today on his second day on the job, and otherwise he would be with us, but he couldn't be. So, so we just became inspired by incredible artwork, including someone named JR. JR is a French artist. He is a street artist and a photographer, and he has actually literally pasted his work all over the world and on walls. And he has done incredibly large scale photos. And he also founded an organization called the Inside Out Project, which really was the inspiration for us to do what we're doing now with I guess I'm gonna call them the pastings or public art installations. And in fact, we partnered with AG Roads to do the public art installation that we did just in September, and which is also covered in the McKnight's article. And then we subsequently did another installation at a nursing home in DC called Forest Hills of DC. It was not in partnership with Inside Out, but it was very much inspired by Inside Out. And I will be showing you photos from that in just a few minutes. So when we launched, just to go back to when we launched in August of 2021, we really just had the internet and social media to start on. And I started Instagram. We're on, by the way, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Yeah, those three major social media platforms. And I just began posting inspirational art that I saw. And then I started posting photos from the work that we were doing. The installation at the Keswick Nursing Home I mentioned earlier, I posted that. And then we started doing a number of other things as well. And then we got the attention of Leading Age, and we had our first installation at Leading Age several years ago in Denver. We had what's called the Aging is Living Trees, in which people, you just basically, you take a tree, it can be a fake tree, it can be a real tree, and you put next to it some cards that ask questions, and they ask the questions about age and aging. So we came up with some questions based on some science research that we had done. And then we asked people to write their response to the question on the other side of it and then hang it on the tree. Other entities have utilized our Aging is Living tree since then, and we were very excited about it. And then about a year or so after that, Michelle Olson, who is on the board and waved earlier, helped us come up with the idea of doing an Own Your Age photo booth. And we ended up doing that at Leading Age, and we've done it at a number of other conferences. And that is the concept for the Own Your Age photo booth, is really just to have people, when they come to the booth, it's a photo booth just set up like you might see at a wedding or a bar mitzvah. And you ask people to write on an art piece of art paper their ages and decorate it as they like or not, and pose in front of the camera so that they can make gifts, they can do boomerangs, or just pose for photos. And it's turned out to be a lot of fun, and we've had many requests to do it. We're continuing to do it. We actually took that to Leading Age last year. And so it's been really, really exciting and a great ride. And now to finally do what we did in September, again, back to AG Roads and Forest Hills, was just an incredible recognition. It just warmed our hearts so much to see that come to fruition. And so what I'd like to do actually is I would love to hear from Kim and Sonia as you guys talk about, first of all, maybe you could talk a little bit about what you've heard of when it started, when the process started. I presume you heard from Deke. Deke probably said to you, "Oh, we're going to do this project," and then what you thought of it before it happened, and then how it turned out, and what happened after that. So I would love to hear that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share the screen so you can see some photos. So.
Sure. And we are actually at Leading Age Nashville right now. We tried to find as quiet of a space as we could, but that's impossible with 6,000 people around the conference center. But yes, I feel like I first heard about this around December of 2023. And so I worked very closely with Sonia and the two activity directors at our other three nursing homes, and Meg and Jordan, and we set up the times for the photos. And I have to admit, this was a very hard project for me to visualize. I just could not grasp what this meant. But it sounded really neat. It sounded really cool. We've got a great team at AG Roads who's always up for an adventure and is always up for doing something new. And so we launched in March of 2024 with a day at each home where Megan Jordan brought down the photo booths, and we spent the day, one day at every home, and just took photos of whoever wanted to be in there, where it's elders, staff, family members, volunteers, whoever wanted their picture taken that day. We made it a fun day with food and music and entertainment, and turned it into as much of a festive atmosphere as we could at each location to encourage people to have their photos taken.
Yeah, so for me, I was instantly on board with anything about activists, ageism, and those things. Being the director of culture and life enrichment, I do believe one of the first steps of culture change is getting the conversation about ageism to the forefront. I think that ageism is it is really at the root of the institutional thinking and processes that don't encourage person-directed care, making sure people have a voice, making sure elders have a voice. And honestly, that day, I think the most interesting part was the conversation about ageism. We had very good dialogue about what it is to be old, or or what it is to age. And then, you know, I said, and they all had their view. I mean, once you come to this world, your exploration is started. I mean, we're all aging. Even an infant is not new, you know, because every day we're older. So to me, aging is perceptive. It's how you feel. It's how people view you and how you view yourself. And so we had those conversations, and it was everyone. It was elders, it was volunteers who were there, it was staff. And really it is about building community. As care partners, everyone is a part of the team, whether you live here, work here, visit here. And I think having everyone's picture, everyone's voice made it that much special. And we do like to be the first. So I wasn't nervous about it, you know, being unsure about what it would look like or what it would entail. Because I knew it was a great thing, and I knew that we wanted to be a part of it. Yeah.
So we set up the photos in March. We had the workshops around ageism. And I mean, if it had ended there, that would have been a great day. I mean, anytime we can bring in fun and activities and the opportunity for our elders to be seen, be recognized, be photographed, be part of a fun day, that would have been great. Fast forward to the summertime, and we got the photos printed. We started planning out the actual day of service. And in September is when you'll see the photos here, when we actually brought everyone together to put the photos on the wall. And this was probably one of the most fun parts, one of the most fun weeks of my job, because my job is very wide ranging with communications, with volunteers, with nonprofit partnerships, with media relations. And this project covered everything that I do in my work. And it was so much fun. We had a group of volunteers from the Gerontology Institute at Georgia State. So they obviously are very vested in the work towards older adults. And so they came and helped put up the posters. We had the next day, we had the media come and cover the event. We had a program with a city official come and speak to the elders. We had board members. So we had this opportunity just to bring everyone together in the community to talk about and celebrate our elders and our communities.
Yeah. I think that having this over time really built up anticipation and excitement about what were we going to do next with the photos. There was several conversations around several communities like, hey, where are the photos? When are they coming back? When are we going to do this? And it really helped connect everyone with the conversation. And you know, on that day, that we were out there putting the photos up with the students from GSU and just the big celebration surrounding it. I was I was surprised and taken back how many people stopped and honked their horns and just said, I love this. What are you doing? I mean, people would just stop by, park their car and say, I just had to come and see what's going on. And then the next day when the person from the mayor's office came, she even said that yesterday she rode by and she saw it happening. And since then, the conversation continues. I've had people who I haven't talked to in years call me and say, hey, I saw your picture on the side of the wall in Atlanta. So even, I mean, I feel like it really connects the community in that way. And it is a beautiful display. It turned out, I mean, better than I ever could have imagined. And it has withheld the storm Helene, and it still looks great. Last week I was at Atlanta, and there were a few pieces that looked a little weathered, but it still is very much intact over a month later and looks amazing.
Yeah, thank you both for that. And before we go a little further, I think probably I should explain a little bit more about the whole process too. And the reason behind it, why nursing homes, right? Why do we go to nursing homes? Well, part of it is because I've worked in the nursing home field, the aging services field for a very long time. So I come from that view. And so when we started Art Against Ageism, we really, I did it with the lens of, look, the institutional model, as Sonia referred to, is really an ageist model. And so how do we reframe that? How do we reframe the fact that, that how do we help people understand that putting people behind these four walls and segregating them from society is really an ageist frame? And how do we help to reverse that? And one way that I think that we did, or we're trying to do, is with this installation, where it's a public art installation, and Inside Out. So when I discovered the Inside Out project, which I mentioned earlier was started by JR, the process that they have is that you file an action on their website, you write about what the action is. And so we wrote the action as Aging is Living, and we referred to the AG Roads anniversary as well. And so the idea is really to bring, as the project indicates, the inside out. We want to take everybody who's in the community, not just the elders, but the staff and the volunteers and family members. We wanted them to be shown outside the walls of the nursing home, to draw attention of the fact that there's a nursing home there. And so what the first part, Sonia referred to that, the first part, which was when we had the photos taken. So you have to file at least 50 photos with the Inside Out project. You must identify a public area where you're going to paste them, and then the Inside Out will approve you. So they approved us. We then in March went to all three of the communities in AG Roads in Atlanta and took their photos, and we took 160 photos altogether. And it was actually a really great time at each place too. And each place was different. And thank you to the staff who brought people down from their rooms and brought people to help, and they made it a really festive atmosphere as well. There was a DJ at each location, there was a food truck, and people really seemed to have fun having their photos taken. So then we took those photos, submitted them to Inside Out, and then Inside Out sent us, once we submitted everything, 6 weeks later, we got 3-foot by 5-foot posters that were they're made, I think, with butcher block paper. They're 20-pound butcher block paper. And then we went to work about a few weeks later. We went to work in September to wheat paste them. So we had to make a wheat paste. It's really it's basically flour and water. You can make it several different ways. We made it at the community, and then all of the volunteers, all of us came together, and we wheat pasted along that long wall that you saw, and the other wall that's closer to the entrance of the Atlanta location. And again, it's about having people recognize, especially passersby and people who don't probably know that there's a building there, but have no idea what's happening inside that building. We just want to bring attention to the amazing people who work and live in senior living, right? And so I know you guys talked a little bit about since then. I think Kim, you told me recently that you've had someone come and volunteer because they realized that
someone inquired about volunteering because they saw the photos.
And
And-
that building has been there. I mean, that is our 120 site, and many people have lived in the land their whole life and do not know what's behind the brick wall. So putting a face to that, I think really helps redefine and get awareness about what is a nursing home? What do people look like? What do people do? And when you scan the QR code, it goes to AG Rose landing page. And so it's nice to actually put a face to it.
Yeah, and I should mention, so we ended up after we pasted, we had QR codes made also on large paper and put them up as well. The QR code that related to the that goes to the AG Roads website. So by the way, we also did, I think I mentioned this, we did the DC installation as well. So just about 2 weeks later, we did an installation at Forest Hills of DC, very similar to the Inside Out project, but different in that we did not partner with Inside Out. Instead, we actually got a grant from AARP. We partnered with a photographer. And when we went to get the photos, a photographer took professional photos over a period of weeks of the people who lived and worked at Forest Hills of DC. And we ended up pasting right after the AG Roads pasting, we ended up pasting on the walls outside of their building about 74 portraits, and they were in full color. So the AG Roads pasting are, as you saw, we're black and white. We're done in black and white, whereas the Forest Hills was done in full color. So I'll show you the next. Oops. Hang on, sorry. So this is the outside of Forest Hills of DC. This is us in the process of pasting. And I'm going to actually show you, this is a video of it. And it wraps around the side of the building as well. And again, I would say, and we've had, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So they've also had a lot of attention as well. They've had people who did not know really, I mean, there's a sign out front of Forest Hills. Also, Forest Hills is on a very busy road, just like AG Roads is. And so they've had a lot of attention just from passersby, people walking in the neighborhood. It's a pretty walkable neighborhood. And asking and inquiring about it as well. So, and I was just there last night at Forest Hills. I took my mother there to see it, and it still looks great as well. Their posters are 4x4 posters, unlike AG Rose is 3x5, and they're full color. It took a little more wheat paste to do the full color, I think. It took us a lot longer to do those, to paste those up, but they look very nice as well. So. And so, Kim, there's anything else? Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we would certainly be happy to be a resource just to talk through logistics. I think there's many different ways to do a project like this, depending on your own capacity and resources. You don't have to plan the big parties around each of the photo booths and around the pastings themselves. And so I think there's degrees to which you could do something like this. And so now that I've been through it, it's much easier to explain how we did it, and thinking through the logistics of, well, you got to think about this and then think about this and make sure the wall is clear, and how you line up the logistics and process to make something like this happen so it's more palatable and doable.
So yeah, so Art Against Ageism is planning to scale to we would love to scale across the country. We've got other requests, and we're working on other projects elsewhere. There's one in outside of Denver that we're working on, and possibly some others in New York. And I would say that I think the workshop is an important part of it. It's sort of an intro, maybe not as much the festivities, but the workshop part of it is important, in which you talk to everyone about what the project is and why we should care about ageism. But again, yeah, so we are happy to serve as a resource. We are actually seeking grants in Maryland through the CMP program. I actually met with the CMP. For those of you who don't know what CMP grants are, CMP refers to civil money penalties, and there's a grant program through the federal government. They give money. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they give money that is that they receive from nursing homes that have been penalized financially and must pay to the United States, to the government, to the states, and then the states administer those as grants. So we're seeking grants to do them that way as well.
I guess the only other thing I will just address in some of the comments, just because Sonia and I happen to be here at Leading Age, we're presenting in 2 hours about our work with community partnerships and engaging volunteers and working with nonprofits and how that connects to person-directed care. We'll be, of course, talking about this project at the workshop, but we're also going to be spending a significant amount of time talking about our intergenerational program through AG Roads. So just don't want to divert from the topic at hand, but would also be glad to be a resource to anyone who's wanting to do some more intergenerational programming as well.
Great.
And it looks like Oliver has a question.
Yeah, so one thing I've been doing recently to highlight the issue of ageism is I've been giving out stickers to the public, and I've been doing a few one called I Love Aging, warning the dangers of ageism is a danger. So I've been giving out stickers to the public, and when you give it out, you put it on, you give it to them so they put it on the back of their phone, and hopefully when they get home, they will have the conversation with their friends. And another thing I've been doing over the last few months is I've been protesting, but unfortunately, since this year, a lot of people have not been interested in wanting to take part of it. And I think protesting is actually the best way we can get the message across. And that seems to be, I've been doing it. So I've been taking a lot of risk by doing it outside different places. And what I have tried as an experiment is doing a bit of door blocking to get the attention, because if I just do it peacefully, sometimes people don't even get the conversation going. So I've been doing a few organizations where if a lot of organizations seem to be more about profit, so I've been protesting outside their office to get people thinking about it, and that sort of thing I've definitely been doing. So yeah.
Thank you, Oliver. And Oliver, by the way, how late is it there? He is in England, right? Are you in London, Oliver?
Yes, I'm definitely in London. But another question I wanted to ask is, well, I wanted to mention that it would be really good to see more of this art on public streets in London. Where I'll tell you a good place where I think it'd be good to see it if you ever did put it up is, and it should be a low risk of getting arrested. It's like, say for example, if you see a bus stop, you can get an Allen key, open the bus stop, and then you can put some anti-Ageism message on bus stops, and you can even do it on billboards. So that's another
I like the
idea
way
that
you
came to
think.
my mind.
Thank you, Oliver. I like the way you think.
We have lots of questions. One question is, what kind of feedback have you had from residents about the projects?
They thought it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they loved when we had the installation and we had the grand opening the next day. They, as many of that were able, we took up and down the sidewalks to see their photos. They loved seeing themselves. They loved seeing their friends. They loved seeing their care partners. That was a super fun part of the afternoon, and people were concerned because it is a very, very busy street with not a lot of clearance between the cars and the sidewalk, and so
Yeah, I think they
but it was fun.
it was definitely a sense of pride as well. I mean, because people say there's not good things in the news, but we had several news media newspaper entities to come out and see all the great things that were happening there. And so they were very excited because they were, their pictures and likeness was on the news, and they want people to know that they enjoy living, their aging is living, and they are still loving the life they have been given, and that they enjoy being at AG Roads, which is, it is contrary to what most people think a nursing home is. And I think that they were proud to let people know that we have a good time here.
And those photos, I mean, they are absolutely gorgeous. It seems like everyone's a movie star, or you also have excellent photographers.
Yeah, someone who stopped asked that. They were like, "So are there models?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Well, these are people who live here and work here." And they said, "Well, that y'all like took all the ugly folks out." I mean, what did you do? But when you smile and take a photo, I think you really can see in a person's eyes and in their face that they love the life they're living, and that they're happy to be a part of it. And you really could see it in the photos. I think they all were beautiful.
And
So what are the resources that you need? How is it going to you, Meg? I mean, do people have to apply for the project? How does that work?
oh, I'm sorry, I was going to say something else about
Oh,
the residents.
excuse
by the
me.
way. Yeah, if I could say so. So we, at both places, at both installations, we had the opportunity to get photo, and I didn't put any in the slideshow. I should have photos of people either posing with their photos next to them or somebody else holding up the photo of themselves next to them. And that was a lot of fun too. People really had a lot of fun, knowing that that poster was about to go up outside on the wall. So that was fun. And I'm sorry, the question was resources.
It was from Jack here. So he was asking what resources are needed to get the project started.
So if you want to do it with Inside Out, you can do it with Inside Out and just contact insideout.net. I'm sorry, it's actually called the insideoutproject.net.
Yeah.
If you'd like to, we would love to partner with anyone who's interested. We are happy to help you in any way. We can help you find a grant to do it. We can help you with logistics. We can help you figure out what maybe you need to do, where you need to do it, that sort of thing. So you can just reach out to me at meg@artagainstageism.org, or go to our website, which is artagainstageism.org. And you can reach us through there as well.
It was tremendously helpful to have that third-party partner so that we could focus on the logistics that we needed to focus on site at AG Roads. And then we knew that Meg and Jordan were handling the logistics of getting the photos taken, the photos there, the supplies there, mixing up the wheat paste. And so we were able to just look at all of the details and logistics on our end. So that was
Yeah.
tremendously helpful.
And the photo booth, because Meg and Jordan, they bought the photo booth. So if you do it by yourself, I mean, that might be a little difficult, getting the photo booth, getting the lighting and everything, the backdrop. They took care of all those things, which, really, it really made for a fun day and made for a nice backdrop for photos.
And a follow-up question. So how does the staff feel about having their photos taken?
Well, nobody had their photos taken that didn't consent to it.
Right. So
So
how do they feel about the project?
They were, everyone wanted to be a part of it. I mean, as you can see, we had 160 photos plus, about 160 photos. And I think that, AG Roads, we have a fun crew. I think at all across the communities, we have a pretty fun crew, and they love the people that they serve. So in addition to those 160, there was probably another 160 taken and just sent to the cell phones of just everyone, just having a great time together, and with elders and with family members and with, co-workers. But they only put the single photos up, but it was a fun day and everyone really enjoyed being a part of it.
I would say, if anything, I got more comments of people that were mad after the fact that they weren't there that day and that we happened to be taking these photos.
Yeah.
It's great. We did have a couple of questions, didn't we, about that? Like, where's my photo? And
Yes.
I've been working here for X amount of years, and I have a photo outside. But they weren't there on the days that we did the education and took the photos. So yeah.
And someone
So
asked in the
go
chat
ahead.
about how difficult it's been to clean them off, and let you know.
Yeah. Standing.
So far, they still look pretty good.
Yeah.
So did the project meet your expectations? Or
Oh, I would say it greatly
Yeah,
exceeded. I mean,
exceeded.
again, it was hard for me to visualize what this was actually going to be. I understood the brief, I understood the project concept, but I need to see it to believe it. And it was hard for me to just understand exactly what this was going to look like. And once they started putting the photos on the wall, especially when they were so big, I mean, it was amazing. It was astounding to watch the process go up.
Are you going to evaluate the project? I mean, how do you measure the success of it, I guess?
So
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I would say we don't have a formal, we haven't done a formal evaluation, but that is part of what we plan to do in the future, is to be more formal about an evaluation. Otherwise, we obviously have anecdotal stories about, such as those of Kim and Sonia that they've just told us about, as well as, I would say, the coverage, and if the coverage is accurate, sort of media coverage, I'm sorry. So other kind of exposure, whether it's media coverage or other kind of, like this, I mean, this kind of exposure, right? And if it's accurate about what the purpose of it was, and if people, and maybe too, it's, you know, like at Forest Hills, they experience other, just as at AG Roads, people who are interested in volunteering as well because they saw it. So, and I'd like to tell another story about the AG Roads. We went to dinner right after the night of the pasting. We went to dinner at a local restaurant. It was about a mile from AG Roads, or a mile and a half. And the chef stopped at our table to ask us, you know, how the meal was, blah, blah. And Jordan, who's very outgoing, said, well, we're here. Explain to Jordan why we were there and that we had been at this nursing home installing this public art. And he said, oh, are you guys on, what is the name of the road? Boulevard. And he said, yeah. And he said, I saw that on my way to work today and I wondered what it was. So then he came the next day for the media event that we had the next day, just because he's very interested in being part of the neighborhood and he just thought it was really interesting. So that was another cool thing too, so.
So in the chat, someone is mentioning that the name, calling a center a senior center, is being changed. I know it is in New York.
Is it really? What are they going to be called?
Older Adult Center.
Okay, that's better, I think.
It's already happened, actually.
That's great.
But the KL is saying that it is an honor to be a senior. So
That's right.
what is wrong with the word senior? Semantics, I don't know.
I mean, that's a
it's
really good
why we're
question.
changing it to senior life enrichment centers.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, that's really interesting because, you know, I work for an organization that's very steeped in culture change called the Greenhouse Project. And they are part of a long discussion about what should you call an older person. And according to the Alternative and the Greenhouse Project, they prefer to call older adults elders, the folks that they work with, elders. And I do know that in some greenhouse homes, although they've been called elders, some of the elders have gotten together through their resident committee. I can't remember the name of what's it called? The residents.
Resident Council.
Council. Thank you, Council. And decided that they wanted to actually change it back to resident. They just wanted to be called a resident. And so it's a very interesting discussion to have around what is the right terminology. I have to say that as someone I consider myself a senior, I'm 58 years old. I don't like senior. I prefer either elder or older adult, I guess. But
I think the most important part is to continue having conversations and to know that you don't always know. You have to continue to have the conversation. But I mean, I appreciated this conversation today, actually, but I think we have to get ready
Unless
to
anybody
go.
has
Yeah,
any more
no one
questions
has
about
more
the project, we need to get some food and then we
Yeah.
need to get ready.
okay.
But I'm so happy you all had us here today.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
And letting us
Yes,
be a part of
this was
this. And
great.
thank you,
Thank you
Meg,
so
as
much.
well.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Okay.
Bye, guys. Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.
Somebody, Meg, is asking who you're working with in Denver. It's someone in Denver who wants to work with.
Yeah, we're working with Eaton, EATN. They're a low-income housing, senior housing community in Eaton, in Lakewood.
Okay, Damon McLeese was the person who wants to contact you.
Oh, great. You can contact me at
Well,
Meg.
I put Meg at Gray Panthers NYC, which is easy.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yep.
Okay. I see Oliver, you have another question? Or maybe you don't? Oh, his hand is maybe just still up.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
go
I
ahead.
do. What I was going to mention, Meg, is in the future, have you thought about maybe booking a gallery space in London? Because London would be a good place to do it.
A gallery place, what do you, what,
A gallery.
To show your art, to raise an awareness about ageism through art.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
doesn't have-
I think it's a great idea. I prefer public art, so I would rather be outside than inside, but that's also a really good
But I
idea.
think that's another way of getting attention, where you could do it with an opening night where you could do wine and crisps and stuff like that, and that's another way of getting the attention.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's what I was definitely thinking of. So, yeah. So, and also,
Great idea,
at
Oliver.
the moment, but it will come back to me in a sec. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see, other remarks. We have people from other countries. Trying. So, Steve Onigabul, I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name properly. You said African ancestors' cultural tradition made ageism less significant. So I'm not sure if, does that mean that older people are less valued? I can't tell from your remark if you're there. Maybe not. Kim McRae says the gerontology students loved working with you, Meg.
That's great. They were fantastic. We couldn't have done it without them. They were really amazing. We're so glad that they were there. So
Oh, how do you find your photographers? Because that's obviously an important component.
photographers, we didn't have a photographer for AG Roads. We did our photo booth. That's how
Oh,
they got the
right,
photos.
right. But
Yeah.
yet they're posed so well.
Well, what AG Roads does is we just had them pose in front, and AG Roads crops them. I mean, sorry, Inside Out Project crops them.
Oh, okay.
Now, with the other project, the one in DC, there was a photographer. There was a professional photographer who came and took photos, and he did all of the work around that. So,
Okay.
and you can find, obviously you can find photographers anywhere, I think, we are going to try to do it. It's less expensive to do it without a photographer, although there's certainly a role for a photographer as well, right? If you have the funds to do that, I think so.
So what kind of funds do you need to get a project off the ground?
Yeah, sure. So you need to be able to, we need to pay for the photos and the poster, the paper and the paper, the posters to be produced, the supplies to put them up, the wheat paste supplies to make the wheat paste. And probably, somehow they have the personnel and or volunteers. You might want to, I think it's probably a really good idea if you're going to have volunteers come and help, that you feed them that day and feed them well. And the other expense might come for us, it would be if we're going to come and do the two-part of it, the taking the photos ahead of time, we would need to be at least cover our expenditures need to be covered, and our just a fee for doing the workshop as well, because we're going to be bringing the photo booth and we're going to be doing the workshop. So truly, I don't think it's incredibly expensive. We've sort of figured out a budget for it, and we're still working on learning from both projects and bringing it together to figure out what would be the best way to go forward and to garner either grant money or sponsorship money to do it.
Penny Cook is asking if you've thought about working with municipalities.
No, that's a great idea, Penny. Thank you. So I do know that there's somebody in Chicago who would love to do it on the trains on the L. That would be really cool. I'm guessing that would be through a municipality, but yes, we have, there's a nursing home that Michelle and I spoke to the other day that's in a rural area of New York, near her house, near where she lives. And the idea is, if we paste photos on their wall, that'd be great, but there's not a lot of traffic at all in that area and around that nursing home. So we thought about connecting to the town that it's connected to, that it's not far from, and putting up some of the posters there in the town. So that's a good idea. That was Michelle's idea, actually. So you want to talk about that, Michelle, what you think? Michelle's an artist too, by the way, so she's come up with some incredible, great ideas to work with, and working with us, and has ideas, great ideas all the time.
Well, thank you. I
Okay.
know that's not true, but I appreciate it. So,
Go ahead. Is there something you want to add? Michelle Olson? Other Michelle?
yeah, no, I don't really have anything to add. I love this project. I think it is really impactful. And I love that I told Meg in our meeting that I love that passersby can interact with it and then click on the QR code to learn more about the stories of these people, right? Because each one of them is a unique individual. And so I think that's a really important part of it. And kind of like what Oliver was saying, I really would love to expand it, because I told Meg that we're kind of preaching to the choir in some ways, right? Because we know these communities are awesome. We've got olders, we've got youngers, we've got, people that work there, people that live there. And I love celebrating them, and we should. And I want to see them out like even more in our societies, right? So that we stop segregating older people, because they're old. It's like, and I'm not ashamed of the word old. I think old is just as valuable as young. So there, I said it. So,
Thank you,
Yeah.
Michelle. With regard, I'm sorry, yeah, no, with regard, the Forest Hills Project in DC, by the way, they also have QR codes up, and they created a web page in which they populated all of the photos that they took. And next to the photo, there's a brief description or story about that person
That's all.
in the photo. So both residents and staff. It's really interesting what happened with that, though. There was sort of this evolution of the story, because I did record some of the stories. And in the process of doing so, there was this discussion about, should we, it seemed some folks wanted to focus on the stories of the people of what they used to be. And we had this discussion about, well, what's really important is to be present and to be mindful of the fact that these people are still living and they still have lives, and they're not just about their past lives, but about what they're doing now, and about where they live now, and about their lives now. So that actually helped to evolve the discussion among the staff, actually, at the community. And I thought that was really powerful. So
Amy Gill is asking if NPR is still doing StoryCorps. Maybe you can reach out to them.
Yeah, I love StoryCorps, and all of StoryCorps has occurred to me as an inspiration in the work that we do. Obviously, storytelling is an incredibly impactful way to help promote change, and advance positive age beliefs in many ways. So we've thought about that. Yeah, that's a good idea. I do like that.
Jack is asking, what are the dreams of the residents? I guess, how would they like to build on this project?
No, that's a really good question. That's up to, I would guess that Sonia and Kim would be able to answer that, as well as the folks at Forest Hills. It's a really good, we hope that this project will be, at least for AG Rose, and I didn't mention this to them, although I think we did before. We're hoping that at AG Rose, while it's a temporary art installation, we're hoping that once those posters come down, that they might be interested in a permanent mural that is collectively created and conceived of by the residents and the staff in the community. And so we would love to see, it's a perfect place for a giant and incredibly large permanent mural right on that very long wall. So we're hoping that that would be part of it, and that perhaps it would incorporate, very much incorporate the dreams of the residents. So.
If you're, as part of the description, as you had taken down, are the residents, as opposed to like, how did you get to be old and what are your success stories, but what are your plans for the future?
That's good. I'm sorry, you're saying that's a good question to ask of the.
Yes.
Right. I agree. That's a good point, Jack.
I see Oliver has another remark. Do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
One thing I was going to mention that could be really helpful for you is with the community is, say, for example, if you were going to the shopping centre or queuing at the bank without filming, starting with A, you can even do interviews with people about, have you ever heard of the word ageism? And keep asking questions. And each time you're in the queue, keep asking questions to people. And you could do it if the train is delayed, explain that and that sort of thing. And also that, and another thing you could do if you're on a train, or if you're on public transport, or if you're out in the cafe, you could make an announcement by saying, could I have your attention, please? And explain to you that how negative ageism can be, and do some disruptive voices. And third, what I was also going to mention is, with your friends, you might want to consider doing some interviewing about ageism and make some films about it.
That's a really good idea. And actually, I've seen some people do something similar on TikTok. There are a couple of people who stop people on the street and say, how old are you? And somebody might say 65, and he'll ask them, what is it like to be 65? And I think that's really cool. I really like it, actually. And that's a really good idea, Oliver. Thank you.
And another thing I was also going to mention as well, which I've done for my campaigning. So if it's too commercialized and you can't get the attention, what I've been doing to get the attention going, and it does contain trigger warnings, but I'm having to do a banner. And if a lot of people seem to ignore it, what I've been doing is covering the banner. And if somebody walks past, you know they're not going to take ageism seriously and just don't care. We do the banner and we shout out a word and we say, for example, engages all ages, or we say something not ageism out. And we thing you tell yourself, where you do some like several things. Another thing you could do with your friends is, as long as you turn the megaphone off, you could do something really exciting and make a fun video. Is where you hold a megaphone, and if somebody's coming out of the lift, and you can shout out and say ageism out, and get the powerful message across where you're doing a prank video. But as long we don't have the sound coming out, you turn the megaphone off with the sound, and you can shout out ageism out, and make some interesting videos.
Thanks.
I think I understand it. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's
You
cool.
can try it, especially in New York where it's so noisy. You need a megaphone.
Yes, definitely.
I know, right?
So Kim McCrae has asked, have you thought of tying in with age-friendly or dementia-friendly movements?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. Because obviously it's an age-friendly, it's certainly something that is age-friendly. And the dementia-friendly part of it as well, because of course there, in senior living, you can't really have senior living without the knowledge of dementia care. So we have thought about that. There is an organization called Dementia Spring, which I know Michelle is quite familiar. Well, she and I both actually, and Jordan and Michelle and I went to a performance that they put on, an event that they put on in New York last spring. And they do art that helps to reframe. They're all about art reframing dementia. And so I do think there's definitely some synergies there and something to think about. That's a good question.
Someone made a remark about the ageist issue in our current presidential election. So,
very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very good topic. And I think it's ageist on both sides, no matter what your political stripes might be. There have been ageist remarks, accusations, and assumptions made about both candidates. I'm sorry, about before when Biden was a candidate, and of course now the Trump as well. So I think that's I think that it's done some good in some ways to bring out the conversation about it. Of course, it's not good to make fun of people because of their age or to make assumptions about people because of their age, but it's certainly elevated the conversation.
Okay, let's see. So what is your next plan, Denver, Meg? Or what?
Yeah, we hope so, Denver. Yes, we're working on Denver. Indeed, the Eaton community. Did you raise your hand, Michelle? Did you not? You didn't mean
She
to.
was waving goodbye.
No, I'm
Oh,
sorry. Because dementia
Oh,
is
go ahead.
my thing. And so I get very riled up about it. And so I was going to say yes about the political thing about dementia, and even my own father recently, because he loves to write. And so he put out a blog about, a candidate having dementia. And I'm like, no, like, just stop doing that. That even your little jokes that seem like subtle, it's not helpful to people who are living with this neurodegenerative disorder. Right. And
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's like, there's so many layers there. And so it's not just about, ageism, it's really about ableism too.
Yes,
So
absolutely. And I should have made, you're absolutely right, Michelle. Thank you for bringing that up. It absolutely is. Yep.
Well, we're coming to the end of the hour. Is there anything, Meg, that you want to close with?
No, just I really appreciate everyone coming and if this project resonated with you at all, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. If you could, send me an email. Again, it's at meg@artagainstageism.org. Or if you're interested, we're happy to help you in any way that we can. We appreciate it very much.
Well, it's been an inspiring hour that we most desperately need from an otherwise stressful political week.
Yes.
So thank you, Meg, for the distraction.
Thank you, everybody.
And so join us next month on November 26th. We're going to host Dr. Hubum Jang of the World Health Association in Geneva, and he's going to speak on the topic of long-term care from the global viewpoint.
Oh, excellent.
So
Okay.
thanks, everyone.
You.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.